My name is Claire Whitmore. I was 32 years old when my mother humiliated me in a ballroom full of executives and said, "Some girls are meant for boardrooms. Some are meant to make sure the boardroom has enough chairs." My sister Natalie laughed. My father looked at the floor, and I stood there in my black event staff blazer, holding a clipboard, pretending those words had not landed exactly where she aimed them. Then the CEO of Hale Co stopped beside us. He looked at my name badge, then he looked at my face, and he said, "Claire Whitmore, why did you never show up 8 years ago?" My mother's smile disappeared. I said, "I'm sorry?" He frowned. "For the executive leadership program, you were accepted. We waited 2 weeks for your confirmation." The room went quiet around me. My mother reached for my arm and whispered, "Claire, not here." But I was already staring at the man who had just told me the truth my family had buried for 8 years. I had not been rejected. I had been accepted, and someone in my own house had made sure I never knew. To understand why that sentence broke something open in me, you need to understand what my family had taught me to believe about myself. In the Whitmore family, ambition was not encouraged equally. Natalie, my younger sister, was allowed to dream loudly. She wanted a boutique, so my parents helped her rent a storefront. She wanted a social media consultant, so my mother called it an investment. She wanted to be introduced to wealthy clients, so my father drove her to charity lunches and smiled like he had raised a business genius. But when I wanted more, my mother called it selfish. When I was 24, I was finishing a business administration certificate and working part-time at a hotel. I loved operations. I loved schedules, contracts, guest lists, vendor calls, crisis plans. I liked knowing how every small moving piece could either protect a night or ruin it. People thought I was just organized, but I knew organization was power. That year, one of my instructors told me about the Hale Co. Executive Leadership Program. It was competitive, paid, 1 year of training, temporary housing, mentorship, a possible permanent management position at the end. I spent 3 weeks on that application. I rewrote my essay until 2 in the morning. I asked my instructor to review my resume. I mailed everything in a folder so clean, it looked like I had ironed the paper. When I told my mother, she barely looked up from her tea. "Hale Co?" she said. "Yes, that's a very serious company." "I know." She looked at me over the rim of her cup. "Don't embarrass yourself pretending you had options you don't really have." I remember standing in the kitchen, holding my excitement like a glass ornament. I said,
"I think I have a real chance."
She smiled, not kindly. "Claire, girls like you don't belong in rooms like that." That was the first time she said it, not the last. 2 weeks later, my father had a stroke. It was not the worst kind. He survived. He recovered. But recovery was slow, and my mother made sure everyone knew the family had entered a crisis. I started driving him to appointments. I cooked soft meals. I organized medication. I called the insurance company. I slept with my phone on loud in case he needed something at night. Natalie visited with flowers once, took a photo of herself holding his hand, posted it with a caption about family, and left before dinner. My mother praised her for being emotionally present. I was the one changing sheets. I was the one arguing with billing departments. I was the one missing shifts because my mother said, "Your father needs you more than some hotel does." Weeks passed, then months. I never heard from Hale Co. No call, no email, no letter. I told myself the answer was no. I told myself I had aimed too high, and my mother helped that belief grow roots. At dinner, she would say things like, "There is dignity in knowing your place," or "Not everyone is made for a big life," or "Natalie was built for success. Claire was built for responsibility." My father never corrected her. He would just move food around his plate and say, "Your mother is under stress." That sentence became his favorite hiding place. "Your mother is under stress. Your mother means well. Your mother is only trying to keep this family together." No one ever asked what keeping the family together had cost me. For 8 years, I became useful. That was my role. Useful Claire. Claire knew where the insurance cards were. Claire knew which medication could not be taken before breakfast. Claire knew how to calm down angry vendors at Natalie's boutique. Claire knew how to fix a seating chart, balance a budget, call a plumber, read a contract, and make everyone else look competent. But competence did not earn respect in my family. It earned more work. By the time I was 32, I was a senior event coordinator at the hotel where I had once worked part-time. I was good at it, very good. I handled corporate galas, fundraising dinners, award nights, and weddings where the flowers cost more than my car. Clients asked for me by name. Vendors answered when I called. If a room flooded, a keynote speaker canceled, or a bride's father got drunk before the speeches, people came looking for Claire. But to my mother, I was still help. To Natalie, I was still support staff. That night, Hale Co was hosting its annual leadership gala at our hotel. It was one of the biggest events of the year. 300 guests. Executives, investors, or department heads, scholarship winners, journalists, and local business owners. I had been coordinating the event for 6 weeks. I knew every table number, every dietary restriction, every backstage route, every microphone backup, and every emergency contact. I was standing near the registration area, checking the final guest list, when I saw my family walk in. My stomach tightened. Natalie was there in a champagne-colored dress, holding her phone out like the room had been built for her camera. My mother wore navy silk and pearls. My father wore the same gray suit he wore to every formal event. I had not invited them. Natalie had been invited as a local boutique owner because she had recently partnered with one of the gala sponsors. She saw me first. Her face lit up in that dangerous way it did when she found a chance to make herself taller by making me smaller. "Oh my God," she said, loud enough for 2 women at the check-in table to hear. "Claire, you're working this," I smiled politely. "Yes, I'm coordinating tonight's event." Natalie laughed. "That's so funny. I'm here as a guest." My mother looked me up and down, my black blazer, my name badge, my clipboard. Then she said, "Well, someone has to keep the evening organized." It sounded harmless. It was not. Natalie turned to the woman beside her and said, "My sister handles name tags. I handle brands." The woman gave an uncomfortable smile. I looked back at my list. I had learned years ago that answering Natalie in public only made me look bitter. My mother stepped closer. "Don't be sensitive, Claire. You're very good at arranging other people's success." That one hurt, not because it was new, because it was accurate enough to sting. Then Natalie tilted her head and said, "Honestly, you should be proud. Support roles are important." I said quietly, "I am proud of my work." My mother's smile sharpened. "Of course you are. Some girls are meant for boardrooms. Some are meant to make sure the boardroom has enough chairs." Natalie laughed. My father looked at the floor, and I felt myself become 24 again, standing in the kitchen, holding my application hope like something breakable. "Girls like you don't belong in rooms like that." I was about to step away when a man beside us said, "Excuse me." We all turned. I recognized him immediately from the event materials. Martin Hale, CEO of Hale Co, tall, silver-haired, formal, with the kind of calm face that made people stand straighter. He was looking at my badge. "Claire Whitmore," he asked. I said, "Yes, Mr. Hale. Is there anything you need?" He studied my face. "Were you at Westbridge Business College 8 years ago?" My throat tightened. "Yes," he said. "You applied to our executive leadership program." My mother's hand moved slightly, just a twitch, but I saw it. I said I did. Mr. Hale frowned. "Why did you never show up?" The ballroom noise seemed to pull away from me. "I'm sorry." "For the program," he said. "You were accepted. I remember because your instructor called me personally. She said you had the best operational instincts she had seen in years. We sent the offer. You never confirmed." My hands went cold. Natalie stopped smiling. My father looked up. My mother said quickly, "That must be some mistake, Mr." Hale looked at her, then back at me. "No, I remember the case because we held the spot longer than usual." I could barely hear myself when I said, "I never received an offer." His expression changed. Not dramatically, but enough. He understood before I did. Or maybe he understood exactly when I did. My mother touched my elbow. "Claire, you're working. This is not professional." I pulled my arm away. "Mr." Hale said, I'll have my assistant check the archived records. My mother laughed softly. That was 8 years ago. Surely there's no need to dig through old paperwork during a gala. Mr. Hale's voice was polite, but cold. Mrs. Whitmore, my company keeps excellent records. Then he turned to me. After the keynote, come find me. I nodded. My mother leaned close and whispered, do not make a scene. I looked at her. For the first time in years, I did not feel small. I felt precise. I said, then don't give me one. The gala continued. I worked because that was what I did. The microphone cut out during the second award introduction, and I had the backup live in 12 seconds. The vegetarian meals went to table 14 instead of table 40, and I caught it before the plates hit the table. A speaker's driver got lost, and I rerouted him through the loading entrance. I did my job while the entire floor of my past cracked open underneath me. After the keynote, Mr. Hale's assistant found me near the service corridor. Ms. Whitmore, she said, Mr. Hale is in the green room. My mother saw me walking away. So did Natalie. This time, neither of them laughed. Inside the green room, Mr. Hale was standing beside a laptop. His assistant had several files open. He did not waste time. We found the record. I held my breath. He turned the laptop slightly. There it was. Candidate, Claire Ann Whitmore. Application status, accepted. Offer package sent by registered mail. Delivery address, 1189 Alder Lane. That was my parents' house. Delivery confirmed. Recipient signature, E. Whitmore. I stared at the screen. E. Whitmore. Evelyn Whitmore, my mother. The room seemed too bright. Mr. Hale said, we sent 2 follow-up emails as well. No response. I changed emails around that time, I whispered. After my father's stroke. My mother said the old account was full of spam and I should start fresh. His assistant looked down. Mr. Hale said nothing for a moment. Then he asked, did you ever see the physical letter? No. Did anyone tell you it arrived? No. He nodded once, like he was closing a file in his mind. I am very sorry. Those 4 words almost undid me. Because they were not dramatic. They were not defensive. They were not wrapped in family excuses. They were clean. I said, can I have a copy? Of the record? Yes. The delivery confirmation, the status. Everything you can legally share. Mr. Hale looked at his assistant. Prepare it. Then he said to me, you should know something. You were not a borderline candidate. You were one of the strongest applicants that year. I looked away. For 8 years, I had believed I was not chosen. For 8 years, I had carried rejection like proof. And now a stranger was telling me rejection had never happened. The truth was worse. Someone had chosen for me. When I returned to the ballroom, my mother was waiting near the hallway. Natalie stood behind her, arms crossed. My father looked pale. My mother said, what did he say? I looked at her for a long second. Then I asked, where is the letter? Her face did not move. What letter? The one you signed for. Natalie said, Claire, don't be dramatic. I did not look at her. I looked only at my mother. Where is the letter? My mother lowered her voice. You are embarrassing yourself. No, I said. I think you did that 8 years ago. I'm only finding out tonight. My father whispered, Evelyn. That was all, just her name. But it sounded like guilt. My mother turned on him. Not now, Richard. I looked at him. You knew. He did not answer fast enough. That was answer enough. I felt something inside me close. Not break, close. My mother said, your father was ill. This family was falling apart. You were needed. I said, then you should have asked me to stay. She hissed, you would have left. Yes, I said, I might have. Her eyes flashed. There, you admit it. I almost laughed. Admit what? That I had a future? She stepped closer. You had responsibilities. I had a choice. You were too young to understand the consequences. I was 24. You were naive. I was accepted, her mouth shut. For once, the word landed harder than hers. I did not argue further. I did not shout. I did not cry in the hallway. I simply said, I want the letter. My mother said, I don't know where it is. I said, don't lie before I ask the second question. Natalie's face changed. She had never heard me speak to our mother like that. Honestly, neither had I. My mother whispered, be careful. I said, I am. That's why I'm not asking without proof. Then I walked away. I finished the event. Every table cleared. Every guest thanked. Every vendor signed out. every invoice collected. At midnight, when the last truck pulled away from the loading dock, Mr. Hale found me near the ballroom doors. He handed me a sealed envelope. Inside were copies of the archived acceptance record, delivery confirmation, and program details. He said, "This is not the same opportunity. I understand that." I nodded, but Hale Co. has expanded its corporate operations division. We need someone who understands complex events, logistics, staff coordination, and pressure. I looked at him. He said, "When you are ready, I would like you to interview for a senior operations role." For a moment, I could not speak. He added, "Not charity. I watched you tonight. You ran a difficult room better than some executives run departments." I said, "Thank you." He gave a small nod. "Your mother was wrong." That sentence followed me home. Your mother was wrong. Not maybe, not perhaps, not families are complicated, just wrong. The next morning, I drove to my parents' house, not to confront them. Not yet. I needed the letter. My mother was at church. My father was asleep in his recliner. I used the key I still had from years of being the daughter they called. Whenever something needed fixing, the house smelled like lemon polish and old rules. I went to the hallway closet first. Nothing. Then the office. Nothing. Then the storage room under the stairs, where my mother kept boxes labeled by year. Medical receipts, insurance forms, tax papers, Natalie's boutique documents, family Christmas lists. Everything sorted, everything preserved. Because my mother did not throw things away. She hid them until they became useful. In a box marked Richard, Recovery, I found a cream envelope. Thick paper, yellowed at the edges. The Hale Co. logo was in the top left corner. My name was typed across the front, Claire Ann Whitmore. The envelope had been opened. Inside was the letter. "Dear Miss Whitmore, we are pleased to offer you admission to the Hale Co. Executive Leadership Program." My knees nearly gave out. I sat on the storage room floor and read the entire thing: salary, housing stipend, start date, training schedule, mentor assignment, confirmation deadline, a life I had never been allowed to touch. Behind the letter was another sheet, a handwritten note from my instructor. "Claire, I knew they would see what I saw. Call me the second you get this." I pressed my hand over my mouth. I had spent 8 years thinking no one had seen me, but someone had. My mother had just made sure I never saw the proof. I photographed every page. The envelope, the postmark, the acceptance letter, the confirmation deadline, the handwritten note. Then I put the original back exactly where I found it. I wanted my mother to feel safe for one more day. People reveal more when they think the evidence is still sleeping. On Sunday, we were supposed to gather for my father's birthday. I went. Natalie was already there when I arrived, wearing a white sweater and gold earrings, arranging cupcakes on a stand like she had baked them instead of bought them. She smiled when she saw me. "Still pretending you were almost a CEO?" My mother looked up sharply. "Natalie," but not because she disagreed, because she knew the timing was bad. I placed my bag on the chair. "I was never pretending." Natalie rolled her eyes. "Claire, one conversation with a rich man does not rewrite your life." I said no, but a letter does. My mother went still. My father closed his eyes. I took the copies from my bag and laid them on the dining table. One by one, the archived Hale Co. record, the delivery confirmation, the signature, the acceptance letter, the handwritten note. Natalie leaned forward. Her face changed as she read. My mother said, "You went through my things." I looked at her. "You hid my future in a box labeled with Dad's medical receipts." She stood. "Your father needed care, then asked for care. You would have abandoned us. I would have made a choice. You were my daughter. I was a person before I was your solution." The room went silent. My father whispered, "Claire." I turned to him. "No, you don't get to say my name softly now." His eyes filled. "I didn't know what was in the envelope." "But you knew there was an envelope." He said nothing. I nodded. "That is what I thought." My mother's voice sharpened. "This family survived because you stayed." "No," I said. "This family became comfortable because I stayed." Natalie crossed her arms. "Oh, please. You act like your life would have been magical. Maybe you would have failed." I looked at her. Maybe. But it would have been my failure. That shut her up. My mother gripped the back of a chair. I did what mothers do. I protected this family. I said, "No, you protected your convenience." Her eyes narrowed. "You were never the ambitious one." I almost smiled. There it was. The old sentence. The old cage. I picked up the acceptance letter. I was accepted into a leadership program you told me I didn't deserve. I managed Dad's recovery, your bills, Natalie's boutique launch, and half this house while you called me ordinary. I ran corporate events while you told people I handled name tags. I was never unambitious, Mom. I was overused. My father covered face. Natalie looked away. My mother tried one last time. Girls like you don't belong in rooms like that. This time I did not flinch, I said. Then why did you have to hide the door? That was when Mrs. Alvarez knocked. My mother looked confused. So did Natalie, Mrs. Alvarez had lived next door when I was younger. She was retired now, but she had worked for the Postal Service for decades. I had called her that morning. She stepped into the dining room with her purse held in both hands. "Claire asked me to come," she said. My mother's face hardened. Mrs. Alvarez looked uncomfortable but determined. "I remember the envelope," she said. "From Hale Co. Big cream envelope. Registered mail. Evelyn signed for it at the door." My mother said, "That was 8 years ago. You cannot possibly remember every piece of mail." Mrs. Alvarez looked at her. "I remember, because you cried after you signed. Then you asked me if registered mail could be refused after delivery. I told you no." My father looked at my mother. For the first time, truly looked. Natalie whispered, "Mom?" My mother said nothing. Mrs. Alvarez turned to me. "I should have said something back then. I'm sorry." I said, "You didn't know what it was." "No," she said, "but I knew your mother looked scared of it." After she left, no one moved. My mother sat down slowly. Her voice was quieter when she spoke. "You don't understand what it was like. Your father couldn't do anything." Natalie was still young. The house, the bills, the appointments. "I needed help," I said. "You had a daughter. You did not have a prisoner." Her face crumpled for half a second, then hardened again. "You always think you're the victim." I gathered the papers. "No, I used to think I was the disappointment." I looked at the letter. "Now I know I was evidence of what you stole. I did not stay for cake." That week, I interviewed with Hale Co. Not for the old program. That door had closed 8 years ago. But another one opened. Senior Operations Manager, Corporate Events Division. Real salary, real authority, real office, real future. During the interview, Mr. Hale asked me how I handled pressure. I thought of my mother, my father's pills, Natalie's boutique crisis, the gala microphone, the hidden letter. Then I said, "I document facts, prioritize what can be controlled, and do not waste energy trying to impress people committed to misunderstanding me." He smiled slightly. Good answer. 2 weeks later, I got the offer. This time, it came by email, directly to me. I signed it within 10 minutes. Natalie lost her partnership with the gala sponsor after Mr. Hale's team reviewed her conduct at the event. Officially, the brand said they were moving in a different direction. Unofficially, I heard one sentence from someone in marketing. "We don't partner with people who humiliate staff." My mother called that unfair. I called it consistent. My father asked if we could meet for coffee. "I went once," he cried. He apologized. He said he had suspected something had happened, but had been too sick, too tired, too afraid of my mother's anger. I listened. Then I said, "Your fear cost me too." He nodded. I know, I did not hate him, but I stopped protecting him from the consequences of being passive. That was new for me. My mother sent letters, not texts. Letters. Maybe because she finally understood how much damage one hidden envelope could do. The first said I was cruel. The second said I was ungrateful. The third said family should not keep score. I kept all three in a folder, not because I wanted revenge, because I had learned something important. When people rewrite history, paper matters. 6 months later, I walked into a Hale Co. boardroom for the first time as an employee. Not staff from the hotel. Not someone checking whether the room had enough chairs. I was there to present an operations plan for a national event series. There were 12 executives at the table. Martin Hale sat at the far end. I connected my laptop. My hands were steady. For one brief second, I heard my mother's voice. Girls like you don't belong in rooms like that. Then I looked around the room. The agenda had my name on it. The plan had my work in it. The room had opened because I had earned it once, lost it unfairly, and still became someone capable of entering it. So I began. My name is Claire Whitmore, and I'll be leading today's operational review. No one laughed. No one corrected me. No one told me to know my place. They listened. And that was when I finally understood. My mother had not hidden that letter because she thought I would fail. She hid it because she thought I might succeed. She was afraid I would leave. Afraid I would become harder to use. Afraid I would walk into rooms where her voice could not follow me. But the cruelest part was not that she stole the door. The cruelest part was that after she locked me inside, she spent 8 years mocking me for never leaving. I cannot get those 8 years back. I cannot become the 24-year-old who would have packed one suitcase and moved into temporary housing with a heart full of terror and hope. But I can tell the truth now. I was not rejected. I was redirected by someone who called control of. I was not unambitious. I was exhausted from carrying people who called my sacrifice a personality trait. I was not meant only to arrange other people's success. I was meant to build my own. And when my mother finally asked me, months later, if I was happy, now that I had torn the family apart, I gave her the calmest answer I had. No, Mom, you tore it apart 8 years ago. I only found the letter. Then I hung up. And for the first time in my life, I did not feel guilty for choosing the room with my name on the door.